As I was mentioning, we see the diverse infrastructure and deployments that customers have. They have multiple data centers, they have co-locations, branches, different hardware, different type of also clouds. Some may have legacy systems on IBM or some other different architectures and that the applications require in multi-cloud. So this is what we are seeing, as of today. So Azure was taking an approach, and that was from also with in mind of hybrid environments, because Microsoft knew there was no, a quick turnaround for people to move to cloud, and we started moving into fulfilling the needs for this type of customers that need to keep, data footprints still somewhere else. So with the technology we have in Azure Hybrid, particularly Azure Arc, is that single control plane that can extend from Azure to all those different environments, either on the clouds, on data centers, or on the edges. We have Arc Enable services and Arc Enable infrastructure as well. So what is important of this technology? What is the value out of this? So we see those environments that see main requirement is to have governance, organizations, consistency across all these different environments. People and customers want to have that same visibility over all the environments they have, regardless of where they are. They want to have visibility on operations, compliance, and for those that are heavily regulated, meet security and regulatory requirements with less problems. We also see this is something typical for these customers. So the governance and compliance that comes with this Azure Arc technology, we can deploy guardrails through Azure policy. We can deploy automated policies that can extend to all those different environments, either using multi-cloud or data center on the edge. So Azure Arc is that management control plane that can reach all these different places, as well as we can streamline the security through identity management, RBAC controls, in this way that we can manage the same like done in Azure to those different environments that are not part of Azure. Specifically benefits for security, that we can integrate those foreign systems that are not in Azure as part of Azure through Microsoft Sentinel and Defender for Cloud solutions that we have. In that way, we can also treat those devices with security and controls in the same way as treated with Azure. And finally, other services that also we can leverage the Azure services on any infrastructure, like application, data, and machine learning, also running on other infrastructures. And this, is to improve the innovation for people developing, because the application developers can run these workloads anywhere and still govern them very similarly done as done in Azure Arc. So for those customers that still need to maintain data footprints on Prem, we also have a Azure Stack portfolio. In this case, is technologies to run a compute on Prem, but still connect that compute to the single control plane in Azure. And we have three different main categories. We have Azure Stack Hub that can fit disconnected scenarios and still can be connected with the same regulatory compliance inherited from the Azure control plane. We have Azure Stack HCI, which is a hyper-converged solution, and this is a more robust, scalable virtualization that compromises all the virtualization and storage, and it can run also on remote branches and high-performance workloads. And finally, Azure Stack Edge, this is more tailored to IoT solutions that can run on edge sites. Talking specifically about Azure Arc Enable infrastructure, we can create Arc Enable infrastructure by servers. In this case, any type of server, either bare metal or virtualization. We support most of the Linux flavors, and Windows Server as well, and whether they are in on-prem or in other cloud providers. We also have Arc Enable SQL servers that allows us to treat those servers that are outside of Azure, similarly like we do with native Azure SQL services. And finally, Azure Arc Enable Kubernetes, which is the ability to join those Kubernetes clusters that are outside of Azure with the same governance mechanisms like if they were running on Azure native Kubernetes. We also have capabilities with Azure Enable vSphere. In this case, it will be extending the control and visibility of those VMware environments from whatever they are running different infrastructures, and make them also governed by Azure governance. So we also have data services, in particular to, like I mentioned, SQL, but also Postgres SQL. And this is in the data services. We can also connect those data bases connected to the governance in Azure. And finally, something that is new is we can also run some of those application services that are famous in Azure: App Services, Functions, Logic Apps, API Management, Event Grid. We can run those application services natively on any infrastructure through the relying on the Kubernetes services. So this is basically just an overview, and Adam, my colleague, is going to run up a demo on how this actually looks from a real, environment that we set up for you guys today. Adam, you're good to go.
All right, thanks, Xavier. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen, Javier?
Yep.
Okay. So quickly, I'm going to overview what my demo environment, right? So I have workload in Google, Google GCP, AWS. So I will kind of quickly show my workload that's running in. I have one VM running in each GCP and AWS. I also have VMware that's simulating my on-prem data center. So I have ESXi hosts running a couple of workload in VMware as well. And then I have, again, on my data center, I have Azure Stack HCI, and I have a couple of nodes running in Azure Stack. And then I also have my Azure VMs running in my Azure portal. So what we will be doing, we will be projecting this workload into Azure, basically using Azure Arc. That will allow us to utilize these services that I'm going to highlight here. So like Azure Policy, Azure AD, RBAC, Azure Security Center, which is called Defender for Cloud now, Monitor, Log Analytics, Defender, Azure Tags. So all these services and automation, including, will be able to use for the workload which is running in AWS, Google, on-prem, on Azure Stack HCI or VMware environment. It's the same way you would do that to Azure native workload.
I'm sorry, because I think we lost your screen, similar to what happened to me.
Okay. How about now?
I just see your video. I'm not seeing your slide.
Okay, let me stop and share again.
Okay.
How about now?
There you go.
Okay. So did you see earlier what I was describing though?
No, I think it was lost.
Oh, okay. All right. So basically, this is kind of my. I was saying I have workload across different clouds and on-prem to simulate the hybrid as well as multi-cloud environment, right? So I'm going to switch and show. So this is my on-prem data center where I'm going to log into my vSphere vCenter to show my workload. All right, Javier, let me know when you stop seeing my screen so I don't.
Yeah, it's good for now.
Okay. Okay, so this is my vCenter where I have a Ubuntu VM running, and so I'm running ESXi host 7.0. I also have a Windows machine as well right here. So that's my VMware environment, and this is my Azure Stack HCI environment running on-prem as well. I have I have two nodes, and I'm looking at right now Windows Admin Center running an Azure Stack cluster. So that's going to simulate my data center workload, and I have a Ubuntu VM running in AWS. This is my AWS console. Now the VM, the way it is being projected in Azure is going to be this IP address 172.31.0.79. You will see that in a moment. And then I also have a VM running in Google platform. So Google actually is projecting this exact name I give this VM here. So Azure's Arc Enable GCP. So this is kind of my environment. So the way it works, let's say, so I'm in my Azure portal and I want to onboard these VMs across multiple clouds on-prem into Azure for governance and all the other Azure services that we discussed earlier. I'm going to go to Azure Arc. This is from Azure portal, and I will see, and I can add. Says add your infrastructure for free. So I'm going to click add. Now I have an option to add these servers. That's what we will be doing. I have an option to add Kubernetes cluster, SQL Server, or virtual machines, Arc Enable virtual machines that's in preview right now. So since I want to add servers, I will go in. Now I have an option to add one server at a time. If you're doing any test or you just want to play around, add one server, or you can add multiple servers. So it will generate the script for respective use case. You have an option to use Azure Migrate, which is our discovery and assessment tool, also migration tool as well. If you have used it before, it kind of helps in bulk migration or assessment. So you can use that. So I'm going to just click here right now, just to onboard one server. It's giving me a choice, or it's telling me what are the requirements. That server should be able to connect to the Azure service using HTTPS. You need to have local admin permissions. Connectivity, you can either use a public endpoint or HTTPS, which is secure in itself, but if some customers have proxy requirement, or if they want to connect a private endpoint that over VPN or expressed out, they already have established with the Azure, so they have those options. And you can manage, using, they will need a resource group. So I go next, and then I choose my subscription, a resource group where I want to place this workload that is being projected in Azure. I select my region, select my type of workload, Windows or Linux, and then choose my endpoint. I click next. I have an option to assign tags here. So let's say his data center is Azure Stack HCI in Chicago and so on. You can set up as many tags as you want. It will create this script. So basically I go in and run this PowerShell script on each VM, right? So I have already done that across all 4 environments. So I'm going to go in, and once you run the script, the workload will appear in sorted by workload. So the workload will appear like this. So as I mentioned, this is the AWS VM just connected, showing this Linux. Then I have GCP, next one. Next one is GCP, oops. And then I have my on-prem workload, which is Azure Stack HCI and VMware. So just to kind of give you a view where what it looks like in comparison to our native workload. So if I go to, I have created this dashboard, and let me sort it by. So on the top, which is all the workload here, this is Azure Stack enabled workload. That is outside Azure, coming from AWS, Google, or on-prem. And then below here are native Azure VMs. So they appear exactly same. And as we will see, the options available for governance, for security, for identity management, all the options are available for patch management and so on. So let's go into the AWS VM and double click there and see, as you can see here, it is operating system version, AWS and is the hypervisor they're utilizing. And I can click through different options here. So this is my identity option, identity management, where I can assign roles, deny roles. So I have the full option to assign to these VMs from Azure portal. From a security perspective, I get the recommendations based on the severity. So I have right now 5 recommendations for this AWS VM, that it's missing a log analytics or agent. Its endpoint protection should be enabled. It should have vulnerability assessment enabled on those kind of things. So it's I can go into policies. So these are the policies that are applied by default that I have created. You can create any policy in Azure for missing tags or certain updates or certain region, those kind of things. So it's complaining that this VM is non-compliant against our Azure security benchmark, right? So I can go ahead and make changes to it so it is compliant. So this is just one example, simple example. Similarly, for update management, that is kind of a big thing. Like customers always wonder, okay, how do they really apply patches from single pane of glass across Linux and Windows workload? They can go in easily here and see, okay, this is missing. It looks like it's up to date from critical and security patches. It has some other patches missing. I can see all the list, and I can schedule all the updates from here, and it will go ahead and do it. So it has other, so inventory management is basically tracking all the services that are running on Ubuntu. It's monitoring files as well. And this is kind of a big thing from security perspective. So if somebody is trying to modify the file or modify, the process, it will detect, you will see under change tracking really. So configuration management options are available here as well. So I'm going to jump into another VM. So this is AWS. Let me go into one of the VMware VMs, which is, let's go into Windows one. So again, this is running on my data center on a VMware platform, right? As mentioned here. So I'm going to go in here and update management. So as you can see, I have the same options: identity management, security, extensions, policy, update management. This Windows VM missing a critical or security patch and other updates, as you can see here. So I can go ahead and schedule the updates for this VM. One thing I wanted to show you here is the monitoring, right? We have this option where we use an agent which can just show me what all the ports is communicating to and what servers. So you can see it's communicating on port 443. I can click on this link and it will tell me more stats about what's going on on that link, some traffic stats, some links, requests per minute, response time, and so on. And I can go ahead and see other stats as well. Now this red dotted line is telling me that it's trying to go to connect on these port 80, but it's getting connection denied, or it's unable to access that because of firewall or for other reasons. So that's kind of the dependency or the mapping. I can also view the performance of this VM. It will show the CPU consumption and the memory consumption, what's the IOPS looks like, and so on. Once this loads here. Well, it's taking a little longer. Okay, I will come back to this. So from a like, if you have hundreds and thousands of VMs across your multi-cloud and hybrid cloud environment, so that you get a single pane of glass by going to each of those. So what I showed you from one VM, you can see all the VMs in one place. So let's look at the automation from a configuration management and from an update management perspective. So we do that through our Azure automation account, right? So if I go to my automation account, I can see under update management, I will see all these VMs listed here from different cloud vendors. So I have this is my VMware VM running on data center. This is Azure Stack HCI. This is this is also VMware VM. This one is from AWS. This is from Google. And you can see what updates are missing, and I can schedule updates all from one place, right? So I was showing you individually from one VM. You can have a single pane of glass across all your workload and hybrid and multi-cloud environment. Same thing from a configuration management point of view. You can see all VMs in one place, what processes are running, what software is installed, what files are being monitored, and so on. You can also configure to monitor the registry changes and those kind of things. That is all available. So that is from the automation and configuration management perspective. Let me go to the Defender for Cloud, which used to be called Security Center. And you can see that all these VMs, I have a single pane of glass from a security perspective as well. So as you see in the center here, in addition to my native workload, I have these Azure Arc Enable workload where I can see what's going on from a recommendation point of view. If I scroll up here, this is kind of telling us what the recommendations are from, because this VM is being monitored by Defender for any security holes, for missing patches, for missing assessments, and all those kind of things are basically available to me from here. And last but not the least, I will go into Monitor because I showed you monitoring from one VM perspective. Now I can go in and look at the monitoring capabilities for all workloads in different places like hybrid and multi-cloud. So this is my Azure Stack HCI. This is my Google workload and VMware and AWS. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to kind of show real quick. Let me see if my VM is back now. I can see if the performance of the VM. Let me see. Here. Oh, okay. So here you go. Yeah. So from a performance point of view, you can see the CPU utilization, available memory, logical disk IOPS, and so there's a lot of information available. So this is just again, this is a workload that is running either in another cloud vendor or on-prem in your data center. So that's all I had for the demo.
Thanks, Adam. So the main takeaways here is, customers are coming with these hybrid environments, security, governance, single point of, single pane of glass, how to treat or how to tackle these scaling of this environment. So this is a main takeaways. Why does Azure Arc and Azure Hybrid technologies matter? We are trying to help customers in this front, as we see, the reality is that our customers are multi-cloud customers. There is no customers that are going to be on a single cloud or even, leaving their own premises investments for most of those customers that we're dealing with. So I think I don't see any other questions.